stock of our country's economic woes this morning. Everyone knows we've been through some tough times of late, but does anyone really know how to turn things around? Our cover story is reported by Rita Braver.
We've been here since 4:30 in the morning. Have you?
Let's not fight.
Bottom line is this: we're going through a tough time.
What we're going to do, folks, is we're going to let about 10 to 15 people in at a time. As soon as
Your deposit is insured by the federal government up to $100,000.
Oh, Lord.
It was a week of nerve-wracking economic news.
How do you know they're going to fail?
While the nation's two federally chartered mortgage giants turned up in need of a government rescue strategy.
Our plan is aimed at supporting the stability of financial markets, not just these two enterprises.
Stocks rallied, but only after weeks of losses. There was a new round of layoffs by General Motors, and even though oil prices fell a little, there was confirmation that inflation is on the rise. Consumer prices up 1.1% in June, while wages fell 2.4% over the past year. What's the atmosphere been like here in the past couple of days?
Well, it's been somewhat frantic.
Art Cashin, director of floor operations for UBS Financial Services, says it's been one of the most unstable periods he has seen in 45 years on the New York Stock Exchange.
We're in what is called bear market territory. We're down over 20% since October. We have seen some very volatile moves where stocks looked like they were going into absolute free fall. There were heart-stopping moments here.
A new CBS News New York Times poll finds that 80% of Americans believe the condition of the economy is bad. The fallout continues from that once booming housing market that we've all seen go bust.
That's the overwhelming cause of this recession. And that's because we built up an enormous bubble in home prices from 1996 to 2006. And it was over $8 trillion of bubble wealth created.
And Mark Weisbrot, co-director of the nonpartisan Center for Economic and Policy Research, says that only about 40% of that bubble has deflated so far.
So you're going to have a lot more foreclosures, a lot more write-downs in banks, possible bankruptcies.
By some estimates, banks may need to write off up to $1 trillion in bad loans.
$100,000 for you and one beneficiary. That beneficiary.
One scary example, this past week's run on IndyMac, the California bank that went bust due to bad mortgage loans.
Just don't run out of withdrawals.
No, we will not run out of anything.
I have 3 business accounts, 3 personal accounts, my Roth. My son has 3 accounts.
Marie Bonilla is one of those who still hasn't been able to get her money out of the bank, and she is angry.
At the feds, at the greedy lenders, at the lying borrowers.
She says she's had to cut hours for the employees of her small company that makes down and feather products.
I hope the right decisions are made so everyone is happy, and a situation like this doesn't happen where 26 employees are relying on a check.
And because her name is on his account, her son Anthony, a Marine who has served in Iraq, can't withdraw the $6,000 he's been saving for a motorcycle.
I can't get the money out, I can't even touch it, and now my dreams are like, just fall apart.
Anthony and his mother still hope to get all their funds back. And no one is predicting the kind of bank failure fever that swept the country in the Great Depression. But the turmoil of the week had President Bush trying to reassure Americans that the country is on solid economic ground.
We can have confidence in the long-term foundation of our economy, and I believe we will come through this challenge stronger than ever before.
Not everyone was buying it.
Who needs the formal trust? The formal trust.
In fact, the economy is still showing small signs of growth. But Mark Weisbrot says that with inflation up and wages down, that's little comfort.
It's kind of like the guy who jumps out the window of a 60-story building and he passes the 30th floor and he says everything's okay so far.
Everything is not okay in Ravenna, Ohio.
Our home ownership counselors and our foreclosure specialists go through day in and day out of hearing just terrible stories, people losing their houses, their dreams shattered.
Dave Vaughn of the nonprofit Neighborhood Development Services says that it's not just foreclosures. Businesses are closing, workers being laid off.
Most of the manufacturing jobs are simply disappearing, and the replacement jobs that are coming into play are much lower wage than they had been previous. As one of my colleagues said, the people who built the F-150 are now building Big Macs.
Mom, can you help me?
Last month, 37-year-old Marianne Page, single mother of two, lost her job as a production scheduler for a manufacturing company due to downsizing.
It was hard. It was hard. The kids didn't really understand, maybe a little bit, but they're young, so it was difficult.
Now she scrimps on gas and groceries and still can't find work.
It just seems like everybody's swarming for the same jobs, and it's just one job and 100 people trying to go for the same thing. It's just not a good thing.
And the worst may be still to come.
We're going to have a lot more inflation. Unemployment's going to keep getting worse. Interest rates are going to go a lot higher. That's going to make things worse.
Peter Schiff, president of Euro-Pacific Capital, specializes in foreign investment. When he first started predicting the bursting U.S. mortgage bubble, failure of financial firms, and a steep rise in oil prices, he became known as Dr. Doom.
People just dismissed, they almost laughed it off like it couldn't happen.
He says that Washington and Wall Street have gotten it wrong for years.
Our economy has been built on consumer credit, on borrowing and spending money. The real foundation of an economy needs to be on savings, on underconsumption, and on production. We've got it backward.
Now he forecasts that there will be a slowdown in consumption because given the current economy, more of us will be unable to pay our credit card bills.
And then it's going to be very difficult for Americans to get credit cards. Americans are going to see their limits dramatically reduced on the cards that they have. And so they're going to find their ability to consume is going to be limited to the money in their checking account.
Though Schiff says lower consumption, especially of goods bought on credit, would benefit the country, the view from Wall Street is different. What kind of impact does that have when consumers stop spending money?
That is the daily worry down here. The American consumer is 70% of this economy. And if the consumer hits a brick wall and stops, then the economy all across the nation will be in serious trouble.
You're protected by the federal government.
And almost everyone has a different view of how to get things back on track.
Financial stability is critical to economic stability.
Some are calling for tighter regulations on financial institutions.
Financial institutions have to do a better job at managing risk.
Others say there are too many rules already.
We're going to have to deregulate. The government's going to have to get a lot smaller.
Some economists and politicians want to let the market right itself. Others are calling for a government spending program to stimulate the economy. Do you think at this point anybody really has an answer for fixing the economy, or is it all just a little bit of guesswork and maybe it'll take some luck?
It is probably much more the latter. I'm afraid that it's Thanksgiving, they're all in the kitchen, and there are no measuring cups. So it's a little of this and a little of that, and they're kind of making up as it goes along.